Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back, or welcome to another Bangs audio review. Today, we are going to review the Sony MDR CD480. And no, we're not, actually. A friend of mine lent me these after I let him borrow my Focal Elysias for his trip overseas. When he gave them to me, he said, "I'm not sure I want them back." I get it. They're over 20 years old. Remarkably, though, the mids and the highs are still pretty darn good in this set. It's just when you get down into the lower mids and mid bass and no sub bass, it kind of just drops off a cliff. It's pretty fuzzy and distorted down there at this point. That's probably just due to age. These might have been actually pretty good when they were released. But anyway, enough about that. What we're really here for is the Sennheiser HD660S2. So yes, we're doing cans today. I know I don't do them very often, but I figured that, you know, it's nice to break things up once in a while. Just do something different. The unboxing in these is about as simple as you can possibly get. You get the headphones, you get a 6.35 to 3.5 adapter. One cable finishes in that 6.35, and the other one, where did I put it? Oh yeah, it's in here. Added a little Geekria case for traveling purposes because you can't really use that box for travel. Here we go. Okay, so this was 25 bucks. I think it's pretty solid, pretty protective. And there's the other cable, which terminates in a 4.4 millimeter Pentagon. Why am I not using this one? Well, I had a, probably it's just a side grade, but I saw a good price on a Falial cable and picked that up. So this is a copper alloy cable. For me, not to get too far ahead, but for me, it did kind of add a little bit more treble energy and detail. And coming from IAMs to headphones, well, it can be a bit of a transition. You probably know, if you've experienced that, you're going from something that's literally in your ears to something that's outside of your ears, and it's a different sound. And one that sort of makes you go, huh. At first blush, you're just kind of like, huh. Well, happened to me too. I wasn't sure quite what to make of it, but then, as my buddy Sforzable says, and I have come to believe, sleep on it, wake up, don't listen to anything else, put them on, in this case, on, not in, and see where you go from there. And we went some pretty good places, I would say. So yes, on the packaging, fine. I don't care. It's a $600 set at full retail. Don't ever pay $600 for these because, well, I'm not saying that they're not worth it, but when they go on sale for $400, that's where you want to get them. For that price, you might expect a more grand presentation, but as it says on the box, it is eco-friendly. Everything is recyclable in that. It's all cardboard. So what's on the inside is what's important. That's what we're taught, right? So in this case, that is true. So yeah, you get two cables, you get an adapter, and you get the headphones, and that's it. There you go. I did invest in the Geekria case right there. That was only 25 bucks. It is designed for Sennheiser headphones, so they fit perfectly in there, and you can throw a couple of cables or a portable DAC amp in there as well without risking any damage to the headphones. So also a positive investment. You also might notice, or maybe you haven't, that I did remove the dust covers, the shields, and also swapped out the pads. I think I have the pads here actually in the drawer of confusion. Don't look, it'll just confuse you. Yeah, I believe these are the ones. The stock pads are like, a hybrid. They've got some leather around, but then they have the velour on the outside. I went for the full non-fenestrated Dakoni sheepskin leather pads because I did want a little bit more bass out of them. Mid bass anyway. And that's what I got. So that was a good investment too. All in on this set, we're talking at about $515, I think, with the, accessory additions and the cable and the ear pads. And I don't know if you necessarily have to do that. I like to mod stuff. I don't like open stuff up and put like dampening stuff in IMs. I'm not that crazy because I'll break stuff. But like there are ear pads out there specifically designed for Sennheiser headphones, and Dakoni is a really good maker of that. I will link them in the description so you know where to get some good pads for whatever headphones you have. I think they make them for just about everything out there. Anyway, onto the build. As you can see, this is a classic Sennheiser design. It almost looks exactly like the original HD660, except for the bronze writing here and finishes that kind of separate it from the other ones, but feels solid. The headphones, if you're not aware, they're designed in Germany. Sennheiser. That's not German at all. Deutschland. But they are actually manufactured in Ireland. So this is not Chi-Fi. No, it is not. It's Your-Fi or EU-Fi. EU-Fi. There we go. There's a new term. Headband, spring steel. Obviously, that's what they're all made of. Plastic covering. These foam pads are very, very comfortable. The stock ear pads are also super comfy. The only thing that is, I would say, slightly uncomfortable is the clamp force, and the clamp force will reduce over time. The more that you wear them or do a little stretch out, that kind of stuff, it will it will definitely get better if it's too much for you from the start. The nice thing is they pivot this way as well, so you do get a very, very secure feeling and comfortable fit with these. They're not at risk of falling off your head like the Moondrop Venus is. And they're light enough. I think they're only about 9 ounces. Let me check my specs here. 280 grams, approximately 9 ounces. Yeah, so not heavy at all. Like very comfy to wear for long sessions. Speaking of specs, these are an open back dynamic driver. The driver is a 38 millimeter with a Japanese voice coil made of aluminum. I was not able to find out what the driver material is. That could very well be proprietary information, but apparently it is the same driver material that is used for the HD 800 and 820. So those are $1,200, $1,500, $1,700 headphones, so same materials used for this guy. Sensitivity is 104 decibels. The resistance on these is a whopping 300 ohms. That's not 30, it's 300. And we'll get into the positives and negatives of that. And frequency response, 8 hertz to 41.5 kilohertz. We already talked about the weight being 9 ounces. And I wrote this down too. Produces a whopping 2.5 milliteslas. So that's like crazy. That's a lot. Like the only other headset or IEM that I've run into that had almost that much was the the unfortunate Muse Hi-Fi, the East 6, the one that nobody can wear because they hurt. Those produce 2 Teslas. These guys are at 2.5. So there's no shortage of electromagnetic energy there for sure. What does that do? What's the deal with the 300 ohms? Okay, well, apparently on the original 660s, HD 660s, they were at 150 ohms, and people didn't feel like that gave them a high enough performance, or they weren't resolving enough, or they weren't just fast enough in the transients with that resistance. So they went, I guess, back to their standard 300 ohm resistance, which makes these extraordinarily nimble, fast, agile, very detailed. So that was a good thing from what I understand, that they went back to 300 ohms. Now the downside of 300 ohms is this, okay? Power. You gotta feed them. You gotta give them the juice to drink, okay? Because otherwise they're not going to open up and perform to their full potential. So with the iFi, they did okay. This is 320 milliwatts on the 4.4 at 32 ohms. Obviously that's going to drop with 300 ohms. They did okay. I did have to use the gain match, power match button, and at just about half volume, they were trucking right along. Sounded pretty good. Put the bass boost on, took it right off. They don't need it. Not with the Burr Brown chipset anyway. VOK11 handled them as you would imagine with its 1400 watts supposedly of power. There was no issue with driving them with the FIO, and the best pairing by far, just because of what it is, was the TA22 from X Duo, which apparently, again, supposedly has up to 3 full watts of power off balanced, although that's, I guess, debatable. What is not debatable is that it drove these with ease and sounded freaking phenomenal with them. So that's what they're going through right now, as a matter of fact. We're listening to some jazz, and hopefully there's no copyright strike happening, because I don't think I've got them on loud enough for anyone to really hear what's playing, but who knows? Hopefully not. Alright, so let's get on. We did build. Fit and finish is exceptional. You know, a lot of plastic, but a lot of really high quality plastic. So no complaints there. They feel expensive. They feel like they're a nice set of headphones. So love that. Frequency response, this is where it gets interesting, because that's what, you know, we're trying to figure out is, you know, what were they trying to do? That's what we're trying to figure out. And with this set, I think it is safe to say that as far as the tuning goes, they were attempting to reach a broader audience than just possibly the reference audience. You know, the audience that prefers like pure neutrality, like high quality but very neutral sets. I believe that is what Sennheiser is very much known for, what they have made their name on, and what people come to expect from them. I don't think that the HD660S2 necessarily fits that mold. Oh, there's some braille on here, so you can tell right from left. These guys think of everything. Sorry, sidetracked. Didn't see that till now. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Tuning style. So, they did, if you look at their graph, if I've got it available here. Oh, no, no, I don't. Watch. This is going to be hilarious. You're going to love this. Those are my notes. Let's play a game. What letter am I? You know, you know how this is a rough approximation of what their graph looks like, and if you look at the original HD660 in the sub bass and mid bass, it lies underneath here, only catching up to the mids, upper mids, and treble. That's kind of what they put on their website. Sorry, again, my artistic skills are very lacking, but you get the general idea here. You don't have a ton of sub bass or mid bass. At least that's what it looks like on the graph. fairly neutral mids, and then coming up with the ear gain. You got to have energy there into the treble. It's a little 6K dip, I believe, here to keep the sibilants down, and they're not fatiguing because of that. That's a smart tuning. Maybe not everybody's preference, but I think that in this case that they were going for that more general wide appeal. So anyway, that's enough of that. I don't know what letter that is. It's certainly not a V. It's certainly not a U, and it's certainly not a W. So what is it? What letter am I? I don't know. I don't know what letter that is. Is it a? I don't know. It's kind of looks like a monster with like a jagged forehead or something. I don't know. What does that translate to from what you're hearing is the question, right? How do they sound? Well, pre-Deconi pads, they had, I would say, a nice amount of mid bass and a nice amount of sub bass, but slightly rolled off. The mids were clear, they're present, I would call an area of focus. They're kind of forward. And then the treble, again, very, very smooth, detailed, non-fatiguing, but energetic enough. It was a really nice, I think, balanced, not neutral, balanced sort of feel to it. But I'm a bass head, and I wanted more bass out of them without having to, hit the bass boosts on that or EQ them up with a bass shelf. So I went for the Deconi pads thinking an analog or acoustic EQ would be the best way to go, and I'm happy to report that I was correct. So now the mid bass on these is really, really, really good. Like, it just brought that up enough, and the quality was already there. Like, the precision, the speed, it was already there. It just brought that, power to the mid bass that I was looking for. And again, because you're not messing with it digitally, didn't really mess with the mids or the treble. It just it was like adding a bass shelf, basically. That's on an EQ. So, highly recommended to get those Deconi pads if you're going to get this set. Now, as far as how it did with different music, which is obviously the most important thing, because that's what we, are looking for. We're looking to increase our enjoyment of the music that we like. So, went through the test tracks twice. Listened to Take Me Back to Eden in its entirety, listened to Fear Inoculum in its entirety, listened to Emperor of Sand in its entirety. Those are the 3 albums I did because I'm a metalhead. Anyway, it does well with metal. It doesn't do well with highly distorted metal. So for bands like Slaughter to Prevail, it's a no. For Tool, it's a yes. For a band like Meshuggah, in their older recordings that are in CD quality, it's a no. For their newest recording, that's in 24-bit 96 kilohertz, yes. They did sort of a variety of rock and metal, I felt like, really, really well. So they did your Royal Blood and your Highly Suspect, excellent. What really surprised me probably the most was how good I Don't Believe in Love by Queensryche sounded, which immediately made me go, okay, how does Soundgarden sound? Phenomenal. Great. So they're a good set for rock and for some metal. They're also a very good set for pop and K-pop because they have that immersive head stage. They're an open back. They're well-tuned, they have enough treble. All of those things lead to really good positioning and really nice, large, not massive, but, substantial amount of soundstage. They don't disappoint in that respect at all. R&B, fine. Hip hop, no, not so much. So this is where I think the bass roll off, and that's like lower bass into sub bass, not mid bass. Mid bass is excellent, but like lower bass into the sub bass, you're just not picking up those drops. Like those drops, 808s, whatever you want to call them, bass synth, are just not satisfying with these. They don't do it well. They don't really do it much at all, honestly. So I would say if hip hop, R&B and hip hop, R&B is okay, but if hip hop's your jam, EDM, heavy, heavy, heavy end of metal, these are not going to work for you because they just don't have it in that really, really low end. And that's okay because I don't believe that they were tuned to that for that purpose anyway, right? A lot of people listen to rock. A lot of people listen to pop and K-pop. A lot of people listen to country. I'm just saying I think that they were going for the masses on this, and I think that they achieved that because what it does play well is exceptional. Like, just I love how it sounds. It has some limitations. It did do classical well, and it did jazz well, as you know, like as far as imaging and placement, and you know the feel of like you're actually in the concert hall or you're in the jazz club or you know you're there live. Like it definitely presented those genres, I would say, extraordinarily well. There are just a few things that it doesn't do well, and that's okay. Because not every set can be everything to every genre for everyone. All right, that set might exist. It probably does exist. It's just not generally, approachable or achievable for most people. Now, let's talk about what these cost and whether or not they're recommended. That's where I have the problem. I think that headphones in general it's a really difficult space for people because they do cost more to produce. Companies need to make a profit on them to continue their R&D and to continue to make things better. I don't really feel like you're getting the value that you do with IEMs with headphones. I think it's just a struggle. And I'm not saying that there's a certain price point where you have to go to get decent quality. Although I will say it's not at 100, generally speaking. I know the Audio Ghost was really well reviewed by a couple of people, but I have it and I found it to be just almost cavernous, like very cupped and muted and dull. And I did pad swaps and I took dust covers off and I tried different sources and I tried different genres, and it just all came back to it was a very unsatisfying feeling for me. And I even, put them on the burn rig for like 150 hours thinking that might open them up. It never did. So I'm extremely skeptical of any headphone that retails for $100 or less at this point. Now, maybe that's not fair because I've only experienced one, but, I looked just a little bit further up in price, and you've got the Harmonic Dynathena, and these are great. They're a really good all-around headphone. Really enjoyable. If these are $600, I don't want you to even consider buying them. They're simply not worth it. For $400, I think they make the grade. I think they do. I would love to see them at $3. That way you could mod them and still stay around $400. But I'll give them a recommend, not a highly recommended, because they are excellent sounding at what they do well in certain genres. So, gonna give them the recommend. That's gonna wrap it up. I'm pretty much out of time. I didn't realize how long this is running. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Love y'all. Nothing but peace to you. We'll see you.